Ben actually got to go to it's the Berkshire Hathaway annual shareholders meeting with Buffett. And he was talking about Bitcoin. So tell us a little bit about what you got to see there, and what did you hear regarding cryptocurrencies?
All right. Well, let's begin with the fact that Charlie Munger, like being a man of very few words, and never dicing his words either, never mincing them. He said trading cryptos is like trading turds. Now, while I agree with some of that statement, not talking about the currencies, the certain tokens that are out there that it's just a white paper with nothing and stuff like that. That's yeah, I agree on that statement, sure. But I think it's the simple fact that and Warren Buffett has said this multiple times, that he doesn't understand technology. Neither does Munger. They don't understand the value of certain things, right? So, back when they had a chance to buy Amazon or whatever company in tech, they didn't see the value in those companies. They thought they were either overvalued or they don't understand what they do. And a lot of these companies, right? If you think about it, and a lot of the companies that they invest in seem like those traditional physical, quote unquote, brick and mortar type style companies. Now, of course, they invest into tech and stuff like that, but not until very recently. Of course, one of the biggest things that he invests in is Apple. And it hits onto the point where people don't just to transition, is the understanding of the certain aspects of technology. People still don't understand some of the value that certain companies bring. It's Amazon, right? One the world's retailer, right? That's that kind of their the logo, or not logo, their name or tag name. And it's very interesting to see how they think about it. And, they keep talking about how there's a lot of hysteria in the space. And Robert Shiller, wrote a book called Irrational Exuberance now. And I think that could apply to something those, all these tokens that come out once a day. There's a new token out that's supposed to solve all this problem by doing this, right? And sure, that might happen there. I don't think that'll happen to the currencies, because we're trying to recreate money. And another thing that Warren Buffett pointed out was talking about traveler's checks, which are those those little pieces of paper that you sign your name on and have a denominated amount, and it's a promise that all this money is in my account. Can you cash this out? Well, cryptocurrency is like that. And you don't have to deal with the paper or anything like that. So I think it's just, a lot of their disdain from it is just not understanding it, because they obviously missed the boat on something like an Amazon, right? Or, obviously Amazon can keep going up and, they keep providing, value. But, they missed the boat on a lot of things. And it's just, this goes to the point, aside from them, that people need to understand what they're getting into. And I think that just is lacking in this space.
Yeah, I mean, from an institutional standpoint, with these investors and stuff of that nature, who this is what they do on a day in and day out. This is a completely different world for them, and unfortunately, I feel like sometimes the different principles and standard practices when it comes to investing into companies. These shareholders and stock traders and stuff, they're trying to apply that to cryptocurrency. Unfortunately, with things like the SEC coming in to rule that certain coins are going to be securities versus commodities, you don't really want to look at this as you're investing in a company. Kind of how he's looking at it when he's looking at these coins, because if you're investing in a company, you're investing in a security. And at the end of the day, those are going to be ruled under the SEC, which is what Vertcoin does not want. We are doing everything in our power to make sure that we are not labeled a security, that we are labeled a commodity, just like Bitcoin. Because when someone purchases Vertcoin, you're purchasing the technology. You're not purchasing a future advancement in returns from the the developers or the Vertcoin Foundation once that's set up. That's not what we want, and that's not what we advocate at all. We want to be a commodity, and we don't want to be a security, which the majority of the time, people like Warren Buffett, he's looking at these coins as securities. But it's interesting to see how some of these older, they're older guys who aren't as big into technology, and they're trying to see the opportunity for disruption in the financial sector. They're seeing that disruption, and they're trying to figure out how to make it work for them in the way that they think. But unfortunately, cryptocurrency, it's a whole nother beast, and that's why you have to do a lot of research before you even get into this space to figure out, what the hell is cryptocurrency,
Exactly. And I think something that interesting that, to point out about that is that he has, Buffett, he has a huge share in Amex, American Express, and other small shares in credit card companies. I find that kind of curious as well. One of the big things about cryptocurrencies is that we want to displace credit cards, because we mentioned this before. A lot of companies, because of their rent-seeking fees, don't accept Amex to their establishment. It's just the rent-seeking fees to profitability is just not there. And I find it interesting that, something that, cryptocurrency that can help alleviate that is something that they're against. Now, of course, I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but I find it interesting that, he did double down on Amex, and, interestingly enough, also, they are bigger. They hold big shares into Wells Fargo. And we know the train wreck that has been Wells Fargo the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it would be interesting to see where he moves in this space. But definitely keep your eye out on it, because he's a big player in this game.